Hello and welcome to The Drug Trip. This channel is here to feed the curiosity of those who would like to gain an insight to the effects of various drugs and substances through user experiences and stories, with our main goal being to entertain and reduce harm and abuse. We post regular trip reports every few days, so if you do enjoy these, we would really appreciate it if you subscribed. And more importantly, we love to hear our viewers' thoughts, opinions and experiences, so please leave something for us in the comment section and we may use it in a future video. Enjoy and be safe. We had planned for a long time to try DMT. My partner had heard stories and I was up for a new trippy experience, especially since the night I ate so many mushrooms that I could actually see what the incredible string band were singing. While they sang, I laughed. Not at the lyrics or what I could see, but for the ethereal feeling they filled me with. I could see everything and nothing all at once. All the happiness in the world filled me to the point of euphoria. I was writhing on the bed in such ecstasy, unintentionally driving my partner wild. He let me be. In that little bubble of sheer joy, I never dreamt in my wildest dreams I would ever come close to such a feeling, let alone surpass it. Now, I must stress, all I knew before this night was that DMT was found in many plants, animals, and also humans. It was this alone that really piqued my interest. It's seemingly natural as it's already within us. I also heard stories, not many mind you, in fact, just the one. A friend was around their friend's house when their friend had decided to smoke some DMT, just as our friend was leaving. 10 minutes down the road, our friend receives a very emotional phone call. The friend in question has spent what seemed like an eternity watching himself die over and over again. This shook him to the core, and needless to say, he's not scared for his future demise. DMT also plays an integral role within the film Enter the Void, one of my favourite films, inspired in part the Tibetan Book of the Dead. As I said, my partner was more learned about DMT than I was. We both waited for a moment when we were both ready. Our budding chemist friend, who I shall call the Guru, kept aside a dose big enough for all three of us. The plan was that he'd spot us and that we would spot him. When the night came, our Guru decided to sit out the journey, but insisted that if we felt we were ready, we could still go ahead. I asked him questions about DMT, and he could hardly answer them, instead insisting this would be unlike any trip I had ever taken before, and it was important that I was ready for something that would be so intense that it would be hard to explain to another person who hasn't taken the journey, him or herself. He also reiterated that it was a very personal journey and that I must be ready. We sat in the kitchen debating a time. He put on Terence McKenna, Everything You Need to Know About DMT, and we listened to the first hour. This really picked up my interest, but I had my doubts that the trip would be anything like Terence's lucid descriptions, and now I'm stuck wondering if they had fueled my state of being, mind and experience. I'm not sure. All I know is that I must frantically retype my hash job of scribbled, frantically etched down on paper musings while still coming back. It's almost 24 hours since I sat on the Guru's bed, meditation music harmoniously filling the room, beautifully, note by beautiful note. A big screen on the foot of the bed displayed to us some wonderful visuals. Our Guru informed me earlier in the day that the music is extremely important when on such a journey, and I think the visuals were there just to help get us started. Our Guru sat at the side of the bed and in a ritualistic manner pulled out a small wooden pipe. It's the only one I have. It might get a little hot, he said, and with that, he fills it with the ash we created earlier. We discuss how I'm physically going to do this, and I agreed that it shall be burned on my behalf. I'm also going to take the first leap hit, decided by an old rhyme, ip dip dog. You get the idea. With the pipe fastened lightly between my lips, I suck in as slow as I can. The back of my head begins to tingle, and so believe that this is when I should stop. I laid back. I felt the room wobble into a haze. This is it, I thought, as our guru wishes me good luck and starts to issue my partner a return ticket to a world of psychedelia. And nothing. I was bummed. The wait felt like it was for nothing. But I didn't say anything as my partner was on his way, and I didn't want to ruin it in any way for him. So I sat there and looked at our guru and asked when it should kick in, and he announced that maybe another pipe would be helpful. So I did. I sucked in slower, held it in longer, and breathed it out with less ferociousness. I heed his direction and realised my partner was in the same boat. We started over. This time I was determined to follow instruction, and so he treated the pipe like a tunnel. I've always held my breath under tunnels for no reason, and now it's a habit. So I take a big, long breath in, sucked on the teat of DMT until it hurt, laid back, held it in further. Then I felt like I was going to explode. Instead of breathing out, I breathed in more. Now an intense pain arouses my senses. The room had a certain goopy fuzz about it, and I was there laying on his bed, and the edges of my vision were turning black, the world turning into fractals, and conversation turning ever distant. It was at this point, also, that I was gasping, and I had to remember to breathe out, but I forgot how. And then it happened. The black, broken edges of my vision came in more. The world sped up, and the room was no longer a room, but rather a spinning vortex, like a mandala made from all the broken parts of reality. This was it, I thought. I'm not going any further. And then bam! Neon colours fly past. Black, then colour, and black, then colour, flashing fast. I can't remember if they were closing and opening portals, or just that I was smashing through each one. The neon colours were so perfect that they could be manifested by anything I could dream up. I later remembered the sound that was lost in me when I first scribbled down my travelogue, if you will. The sound was akin to electricity. Imagine standing near a load of pylons, and you could slightly hear the buzzing of the energy within. It was like that, but more intense. Before I knew it, I was in a black box, the edges generating pure colour and light as it edges. It feels like an old 80s game. There is no detail anywhere. I felt like I've smashed through glass, but it didn't hurt. Nothing hurt. This was intense. Everything lasted seconds at a time, but it was long enough for me to take in. And as I begin to look around, I'm not walking, sitting or standing, I'm just there. It's like I didn't have a body anymore. I was just there. This was something I wasn't thinking about at the time. These strange but lovely faces crowded me. I can't see more than their love-filled, smiley, ecstatic faces. These faces were manifested by fragile strands of neon strings of light, green, blue and yellow. They smiled big smiles constantly, as if someone had carved a permanent state of joy across their beautiful faces. They had pointed ears and hair that defied gravity, if you could even call it hair, as it was more like light particles flowing into the surroundings and being slowly enveloped by the darkness. Every look that they gave me filled me with an energy I've never experienced before, and it's at this moment I realise how weightless I am. They spoke at once, not the same words or in unison, but rather when you get a group together and everyone has something different to say and can't wait for the next person to stop. It was pandemonium. I wish I took in how many there were. Every noise echoes and is so loud I could barely take it. Every face is so familiar, yet I'm pretty sure I have never encountered these beings before. I feel like one of them at this point. Sure, I was one of them now that I think back. I was colour and light in the darkness. the darkness swallowing all of that up. But that's fine, we have enough. While they make a certain contact with me, I finally feel I can move. The taste upon entry, I realise, was acidic. My spit turned thick, and I could not swallow. It felt as though I was wet with sweat and dribbling, so I touched my head. I'm sure I'm covered in beads of sweat. This makes me feel embarrassed, but the feeling of assurance washes over me. They were so concerned, elated, and caring. They spoke in sounds that I could not understand, but I could feel what they were trying to disclose or express. I felt every word in their dialect, and I understood that they wanted me to be safe and wished to give me sustenance. They were wishing me to make more of who I was, who I am. They hoped it all wasn't too much for me, and while I was there, I felt like I was floating through space. The blackness swallowing the light these beings were emitting. Surrounded by friends and family I hadn't seen in so long, their elation was really out of this world. I felt as if I had gone to a chaotic war zone and came back safe. It's all I felt that they wanted. Now I could have been dying, overdosing somehow, or even dead, but that didn't feel as though it mattered. I was awash with peace, love, and serenity. If this was nirvana, I wouldn't be surprised. The whole event was so intense I almost panicked, but those faces, they stopped that, along with the sense that my partner was there, and everything, part of it all. A little overly romantic, but that's how it was. My meeting with these apparitions was fleeting, and as soon as I could grasp what was going on, the room slowly came back into focus. I could see the outlines of posters, and I could see my hands grasping water on my lap as I sat upright on the bed. But the colours were still floating through the room, and the faces were more like ghosts. I'm still tripping, even though I am back in the room. I can hear conversation now, and a wash of euphoria engulfs me. And all I can do is smile. I felt like nothing, but part of everything. This was happiness I had never experienced before. To be truly connected and accepted. They were so happy to see me, and pulled me in and filled me with warmth infinite. I could have drowned in that. Those around me are slowly morphing into their human shells, and I am left taking in what had happened. So fast, so slow, and so sudden. I cannot thank our guru friend enough. As the world came into focus more, one of the faded faces moulded into his smiling human shell, and I felt as if I was finally coming back to earth. Relief bittersweet. The guru and my partner were a great human alleviation to what I had just experienced. How fast and far had I travelled? The only way I could explain it would be as if an elastic band was expanding slowly out and then super fast back to my original state. But that doesn't feel right. The neon green curtain remained for a few minutes after the initial trip. I felt sick, rather travel sick. I was sure at this point I had just been slingshotted across dimensions at the speed of light, but I still found the travel sickness confusing. I did have Savaloy and chips a good few hours before, so that may be a contributing factor. And I felt red-pink feeling slime its way up my insides. Our guru is quick with a bin and water, but this throwing up feels excellent. Like I was expelling all the pain and suffering that might have been there before, even if I didn't notice it breeding inside me. I've never felt so much peace than at that moment. Even while I'm writing this, the veil still shrouds me. And as I sobered up, the colours began to wash away, but I still felt weightless. It was like I'd just experienced an intense orgasm. But really, that doesn't even come close to how the whole experience felt. And even now as I tell you this, it's like they have cleansed me of all my physical and mental pain. I thought my partner had made it to the same place. I thought he could see what I saw, but he didn't. I felt him in everything though. It's such a shame that he only got to see the trip and not what I felt was the destination. He zoned out, but was still aware of this planet and maybe who he was. He didn't leave the room, basically. My mind definitely went somewhere, and I feel as if my soul had been massaged from the very core. Thinking back, it was akin to a gas trip, the taste, the chaos, but much more spiritual, more personal, and it felt less random. And unlike gas, I'll be in line for when the next travel tickets are produced. So I write this little over 24 hours after the trip. I meditated on the sensations and found similes to better explain what I could remember. If our guru didn't hand me paper whilst I recounted the journey, much of that would have been lost. I even did drawings. I would have forgotten a lot what you have just read if it was not for that pad. My hope is that I can truly try the lucid dreaming technique and maybe even one day venture further into the void. It doesn't matter if my trip could have been influenced. I don't believe it was. I could not think at all while this was happening. I was just there. Since my journey, my anxiety has faded and I am so at peace with the world.